Today we're going to be looking at finding the surface area of various shapes. Today's learning goal is I can use both nets and a formula to determine the surface area of various figures. Let's review some vocabulary before we start. This is vocabulary from last time. The flat surface of a 3D figure is called a face. The segment formed by the intersection of two faces is called an edge. And each point formed by the intersection of three edges is called a vertex, also known as the corner. And a prism is a three-dimensional shape that has two parallel and congruent faces called bases. All other faces are rectangles. Remember, a base is the surface the solid object stands on, or the bottom line of a shape, such as a triangle or a rectangle. But sometimes, the top is also called a base, when it's parallel to its bottom. So the bases in this case are triangles. Let's continue with our vocabulary review. The total area of the surface of a three-dimensional object. That's the surface area. Example. The surface area of a cube is the area of all six faces added together. So we literally add up all the areas of all the surfaces to make our total surface area. I know that this is a prism. It's a three-dimensional shape that has two parallel and congruent faces called bases, and all the other faces are rectangles. So it's a prism of some sort. And looking at my net here, I can see that these are rectangles. So it'll be a rectangular prism. Now that we've established the fact that it's a rectangular prism, we want to find out the total area of this shape. Phew, good thing, because we're given actual squares. So I'm going to count up the squares to figure out what my total area is. I encourage you to pause the video and try to as well. So I know that these two are congruent, so these two are going to be the same. Now instead of actually counting each individual square, I'm going to do a shortcut here. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so this is going to be 24. Since this is congruent to this is also going to be 24. Let's see what else I can add up here. This is 4 by 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. This is congruent to this, so this is also going to be 32. And then this shape here is 6 by 8, so that'll be 48 squares. Since these two are congruent, I can make this 48 as well. So now I figured out the total, all the different areas of my rectangular prism here. I can go ahead and add those up. So go ahead and add up all the areas of the rectangular prism. So after adding up all the areas of my rectangular prism, I get 208 square units. How do I know? Because the surface area, or rectangular prism, is the area of all six faces added together. So a possible formula for the surface area of a rectangular prism could be 2 length times width plus 2 height times length plus 2 height times width. Let's look at another example where we're given a net. So here we're given a net. What shape is this? If we were to fold this up and make it a 3D shape, I know all the sides are the same or congruent, so this is going to be a cube. So what is the total area of each shape? I can see here in this one, it's 8 by 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Knowing that all the different cubes or the different squares are congruent, I can say that these are all 64. And since this is a cube and cubes have 6 sides, we can do 6 times 64. So then the area is 384 square units. How do I know? I know that it's a cube, and the surface area of a cube is the area of all 6 faces added together. The formula for finding the area of a square is that the side times side, side times side. So we can say 8 times 8, which equals 64. And since there are a total of 6, that's how we can come up with 384. So we can say then we have side squared times 6. What would the net look like for the following cube? What would the net look like for the following cube? Take a minute and draw what the net would look like for the following cube. You said something like this. You know that your net is correct if you cut it out and it forms a cube like this. Okay? So if we think about our previous example, to find the surface area of a cube, we can use side squared times 6. So 4 squared is 16, and 16 times 6 is 96 millimeters squared. So the surface area of the following cube is 96 millimeters squared. What could the net look like for the following below? Well, we're given a square pyramid here. The base is a square, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 triangular faces. So we're looking at a square pyramid here. So the net is going to look like this. So I know my net is correct if I fold it up and it forms the dimensional shape that I said before. Now I'm asked to find the surface area of the following pyramid. So I'll start off with my base, which is 7 times 7. Now I need to find the area of my remaining 4 triangles. The formula for the area of a triangle is half base times height. In this case, my base is 7, my height is 10. So a half times 7 times 10 is equal to 35. Now that I have 4 triangular faces here, so I can multiply 35 times 4 equals 140 for my area of my triangles. Now I'll take the area of my base and the area of my triangles and add those together. So my surface area of my square pyramid is 189 feet squared. Net would the following prism look like? Take a minute and sketch it out. The following prism would look like this net here. Now we're asked to find the surface area of the given rectangular prism. Let's start off by finding the area of the top and bottom. The bottom is worth 65. And that means the top is also worth 65. the left and right are 8 times 5, or 40. And the front of the rectangular prism and the back are both worth 104. Since we're finding the surface area, or the area of all the surfaces, we'll need to take these areas and add them up. So pause the video and add up all the areas here. When I add up all the areas, I get 418 inches squared. So the surface area for my rectangular prism is 418 inches squared. We learned how to use both nets and a formula to determine the surface area of various